Hello, I'm Jordan Bassett. You're watching NME, and we're here with Plan B. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So we're here to talk about your new album, which comes 6 years after Ill Manners. What's been going on?
Just, I needed to get some life experience under my belt to have things to write about.
Right, okay.
You know, with the first record, obviously I had all that life experience and all those things to talk about, and then, you know, I got taken out of my environment and put into the kind of public realm of celebrity and parties and festivals, etc.
Yeah.
And then from that period after the first album to when I done Strickland Banks, all I really had to talk about was kind of fame, you know what I mean? So what I understand about myself is that, you know, I write about, I'm heavily influenced by my environment at the time, and therefore that's what I'm going to write about. So Strickland Banks kind of allowed me to tell a fictional story about, you know, a celebrity, which I kind of based on other celebrities that I'd kind of met at the time, people that come across as like fucking arseholes, but deep down probably all right people, but you know, the whole industry's kind of got to them.
Yeah.
And you know, so Strickland Banks was about one of these said kind of characters who then gets accused of something he hasn't done and has to, you know, pay the price for that. And also Ill Manners, which came directly after that, that was something that was based on all my experiences beforehand, which I tried to release before Strickland Banks. You know, I tried to make that film. I'd written it before I'd created Strickland Banks, and no one would back me.
Right, okay.
You know, no one believed in me as a filmmaker or give me the money.
Was this one that was going to be the Ballad of Belmarsh, or was that something different?
Well, Strickland Banks was always going to be, I was going to do like a speaker box Love Below type album.
Right,
so
yeah.
I actually delivered 2 albums to the label, kind of unmixed and unfinished, but I said, look, this is it. And the boss at the time, he just said, look, I'm not really excited, which fucked me off. I'm like, fuck you, I've just given you 2 fucking records, you cunt. And he said, no, he goes, I'm excited about this one, but I'm not really excited about that one. And he gave me a deal I couldn't refuse, which was, he said, if you focus on this album, the soul album, and we release that and we make that a success, then I'll give you the rights to the hip hop album. You can solely own it yourself. You can take every penny from it. So I'm sitting there thinking like a businessman and like, you know, an independent artist, which I feel suits my hip hop music a lot more than being on a major label. That's what I learned from the first record anyway. I saw it as a good deal. I just didn't expect Strickland Banks to be as successful as it was. And
right, okay.
because it was that successful, it meant that there was no time to do the Ballad of Belmarsh.
Right, okay.
And because Strickland Banks was successful, people was giving me money to do Ill Manners. So while I was in between promoting Strickland Banks, I was getting Ill Manners made, you know, shooting it, editing it, doing the soundtrack album, which also the label, because it was a soundtrack, they didn't own. But I got to the point with the film where I needed 20 grand to finish it.
Yeah.
And I went to the label, I said, look, I need to finish my film, I need 20 grand. They said, well, why don't you sell us the rights to the soundtrack
okay.
for 20 grand? I said, all right, fuck it, it's only a little side project anyway.
Right,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's what he did. You know, Ill Manners was never seen as a commitment record.
Right, yeah.
And then it did what it did, as an album, completely over-succeeded and went #1, etc.
Yeah.
But in between that, because of Strickland Banks, and because I'd now shifted from 679 to Atlantic and I had a much better relationship with them, the label boss, Max Lasada, he said, look, I love your hip-hop stuff, that's why we kept you on. So I'd like to put Ballad of Belmarsh out.
Okay.
And so I figured, you know what, all right, let's do it together. But I was being naive because at the time I just shot Ill Manners and I still hadn't finished it. But I did attempt to finish Ballad of Belmarsh in this little 4-month window.
Yeah.
I kind of put the film on the back burner and went in the studio. Bunch of producers come down, done the whole kind of American thing where I had everybody like working in different rooms.
Right, yeah.
And it just, like 4 months down the line, I was just looking at it thinking, you know what, it's good, but it's not brilliant. And I got this movie here,
right, yeah.
and the soundtrack I need to finish, and there's similar kind of records. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Why don't I just focus on Ill Manners? So I just went to the label one day and just said, look, I'm I'm not doing ballad, I'm doing Ill Manners, you're going to support me or you're not.
So did some of
And that's how it happened.
the ballad end up being Ill Manners?
Yeah, Lost My Way, Playing With Fire, stuff like that, you know.
Right, yeah.
Some of the beats that we did during that time ended up coming on the Ill Manners record, yeah.
Okay, so before we get to the new record, Heaven Before Hell Breaks Loose, let's talk about like Strickland Banks and what happened there. Like you said that you kind of didn't expect it to do what it did.
Yeah.
It kind of launched you as a mainstream. I mean, it did launch you as a mainstream star, which looked. I mean, from Who Needs Action When You Got Words. I mean, who could have seen that coming? That seems very unlikely.
Yeah, but some people do think it was all part of this kind of master plan, you know what I mean? But it wasn't. Everything I've done has always been for necessity, you know. It's been like, you know, the fact that like no one would back Ill Manners, you know, and the label wanted another record. I had to look at the music I was making at the time and say, well, if I'm going to put another record out and it's going to be good, it's not going to be a straightforward hip-hop record. I hadn't experienced that in that. From putting out Who Needs Actions When I Got Words to when it came to doing the second album, I hadn't had any experiences. I had Ill Manners, which was separate. It was a film that I was trying to make. And so I had to somehow try and draw from my experiences over those, you know, from 2006 till 2009 and make an album. And I was on a bit of a downer, you know, the first record didn't do well commercially.
Right. Okay.
I was with a major. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the fact that when you're on a major, you need to sell records. We didn't sell a lot of records.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes were made. So I was on a real kind of downer about that. I just took a break from being Plan B for a sec and just thought, I'm just going to make music like I always did, because I was a singer-songwriter before I was a rapper. So I just started picking up the guitar and just writing whatever was in my head or my heart at the time. And naturally, these soul songs would come out because that kind of is the plan A. That's always been the thing that I haven't had to work at. If you give me a guitar, naturally, I'll hear soul melodies, etc. So I just, rather than stopping creative flow, I just let it out. Every time an idea would come, I'd let it out and I'd write a song. I ended up having this album worth of soul songs, just thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do with them? And maybe Craig David will sing a couple for me, you know? I thought, oh, maybe I'd, you know, get hold of some of these up-and-coming soul artists and, you know, they can sing them and I can just coin it in the background but still have this public persona of this underground rapper. Really had no idea what the fuck I was going to do with it. I just knew that the second album, I always wanted it to be just this one big story, this big concept. And I knew the soul music was good and I really enjoyed playing it and listening to it. And then in the end, I just thought, why don't I do a concept album about a soul singer, you know, and I can bring a dark element to it. There can still be kind of hip-hop within it. And that's when the whole idea of, you know, doing an album through the eyes of the character and then an album through the eyes of Plan B narrating on what was happening to the character was born.
Yeah.
And so that's when the two albums were born. You know.
So I mean, obviously, you sort of seem predominantly like a storyteller, whether you're working in music or in film. You know, we've had the film Ill Manners, the character Strickland Banks. With this new record, is this sort of the first time in a while that we're seeing like the true Plan B or even true Ben?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, what I'm saying about me being a product of my environment. Obviously, as a kid, being angry, pissed off at the world, feeling like I wasn't allowed to be a part of society, that's how the first record was born. The second record was me being plucked out of that environment and being put in the kind of make-believe fairy tale environment of celebrity and the music industry, and so that I wrote about that. And I wrote about the dark side of it as well. With Ill Manners, it was me revisiting again, experiences from my life, but things that had happened to friends of mine or stuff that I'd known that had happened in the area. And that was more of a movie than it was a soundtrack to begin with.
Yeah.
So I was able to, even though I'd been taken out of that environment, I was able to kind of go back and revisit that.
Yeah.
With this album, it literally was like, what am I going to rap about? You know, I've just worked from 2003 till 2012, solidly worked. I haven't had relationships with friends. I haven't had any real personal relationships with anyone. Like I'm not close to anyone. I literally felt completely isolated, and was having a complete identity crisis, you know? So I was like, I'm taking 3 years out and I'm not doing no film or no fucking music. I'm just doing me. And that's what I did. And in that time, pretty soon after that, you know, I became a parent.
Yeah.
And, you know, that in itself kind of turns everything upside down, you know, in a good way, but it means that, you know, you gotta find like a secure place for you and your family to live, and et cetera, all the stuff that kind of comes with that everyday normal thing, which again is beautiful and brilliant, and in a sense you live in your own kind of bubble and your own little piece of like heaven on earth. And I felt like I deserved that. I deserved kind of taking my voice out of the public arena and having to have an opinion on everything fucked up in the world just because that was expected of me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In order for me to be the plan B that everyone's kind of grown up listening to, yeah, I kind of do need to be pissed off, but people need to remember that I'm not just that. I'm all these other things as well, and this record right now is the best music I've put out. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but me as a musician, it's me at my pinnacle. Me as a producer, as a songwriter, the dynamics, the versatility across the record, all the different genres of music that I lend myself to, that I pull off, it's all there. And I feel that it's okay for me not to be angry all the time. And if this is the one time in my life where I'm a little bit more kind of just chilled out and calmed down, then I think it's a good shade. You know, when you look at somebody's kind of career and their legacy, I think it's a nice shade to have.
Yeah.
Rather than just looking back at someone's career and just going, the geezer was just pissed off on every fucking album. You know what I mean?
When you were like looking out into the when these like issues started to creep back into your life when you were in the studio, what were you looking out and seeing that was getting under your skin?
Fucking Brexit, mate. Just fucking open up my windows and it was a sunny day and I was just looking at everyone on the streets going, you're a cunt, you're a cunt. And I just felt like there was a filter being put in front of my eyes. It's like, or lifted away. I saw the country as this like really kind of multicultural, kind of progressive country that had learnt from past mistakes and realised that actually that I was the delusional one. And the country was not like that. It's just London that was like that. And if anything, Brexit's been good because it's pulled that wall from over my eyes away. You know what I mean?
You know, I went back and listened to the track "Ill Manners" for the first time in a while. Yeah. I mean, which is like, so it's your protest song in the wake of the 2011 London riots. I mean, that track still sounds fucking like incredible. I can't think of like that track could come out in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and it's whatever, and it would still sound like totally vital. And I wonder what you make of this week. Amnesty criticised the gang violence matrix, which was this database that was set up after the London riots, and people who were potentially the police think are going to be in gangs were added to it, and it's been found to be very discriminatory. I think it's like 76% of the people on there are.
What are they doing when they focus on a child that they think is going to be in a gang? What are they doing? Are they putting them in a pupil referral unit? Are they giving them any support?
Well, I think it's more like marking someone to
yeah, well,
to
that's where they're fucking up. Because that, like what I said before was that, you know, with PRUs, you wait till a kid gets expelled from school. So basically, you wait until he disrupts his comprehensive school to the point in which you expel him. And then you pass him on to somebody else. So at which point he hasn't learned and he stopped other people from learning. So why not recognise who these kids are from an earlier age, take them out of that school and put them into a school where they get the support that they need? How about that? The problem is there's no emphasis put on rehabilitation because taxpayers don't want their money to be going to bad kids. And they see rehabilitation as reward. So when you go to a PRU, there's like a lot of emphasis put on vocational subjects. Yeah, there was when I was at school. So there was a little bit of music technology, there's a little bit of drama, there was loads of trips, like, you know, you'd had fun trips going to Alton Towers, but you'd also have like trips where you'd go and learn and stuff. So when they just opened up the Millennium Dome, they'd done this kind of like educational exhibition thing, and we went on that and blah, blah, blah. Now, the one bit that right-wing people focused on is I just said Alton Towers.
Right.
And like, why the fuck is taxpayers' money going on sending bad kids to Alton Towers? Well, check this. These kids have never been anywhere. They've never been on holiday. They've never been taken to the fucking fun fair. Nothing. There's a thing called the Maslow hierarchy of needs, yeah? And it's just like a pyramid of, like, as human beings, like the standard shit we need. And it begins with just like shelter and warmth and food, right? But then it kind of gets a little bit kind of more complex, and it eventually goes through like education and school. But the thing is, you can't go to school and be educated if the first needs aren't being met.
Right, yeah.
And these kids are going to school and those most basic needs aren't being met, so therefore they can't learn. None of us would be able to learn if we hadn't eaten and if we hadn't slept and we didn't have clean underwear and shit like that, you know what I mean? These kids are literally going to a comprehensive environment without any of those needs being met, and then people are wondering why they're disrupting the class. When they disrupt the class, they get kicked out, then they're labelled bad, then they get sent to a PRU, which is, it's like a stamp, like you are definitely fucking bad and you're one step away from going to Feltham, right? And the thing is that the PRUs, because academics aren't working with these kids, they use vocations, and vocations are what? Stuff that gives you instant gratification, like music and drama, which are seen as rewards by taxpayers. And this is the problem we have. That rehabilitating someone or being nice to someone or giving somebody something that they've not had before is not a reward, is it? If the rest of their life is shit. But those things, for them to feel happy, come out of their shell and to even be able to engage in academics, those things need to be met. But that's the problem, is that people see that when you meet those needs, that you're rewarding a bad kid.
How old were
and
you?
That's the issue.
How old were you when you were in the pupil referral?
I got kicked out in year 10, so I spent year 11 there.
Okay, and it was a positive.
It changed my life, man. It changed my life because, like, before then, like, I was always capable, but and I spoke about this recently, yeah. I was always intelligent enough to pass my GCSEs. The problem was the violence I experienced at home made it impossible for me to learn at school, because I didn't know how to handle altercations in any other way than with violence.
So it's because of violence that you were kicked?
Yeah, because I was always getting into fights.
Right,
and so then I got put in on last report, and then I eventually got expelled. When I went to the pupil referral unit, there was a lot more emphasis put on the vocational side of things, which is what I engaged with so much better anyway. At that time, I'd already started writing songs. I was taught myself how to play guitar. And then there was a music teacher there called Cliff Early. He used to come down into one of the rooms and bring all his own music equipment. Like, he had like drum kit, amp, bass guitar, all kinds of shit. And we'd just come in there and he'd say, like, do you feel like playing anything? And I'd just go, yeah, guitar, you know, and one of the Muslim girls would go, drums. And so he would teach her like how to play drums, and I'd just play some of my songs and they'd all learn it. And it was like the first time I'd heard the songs I'd written accompanied by other musicians and other music. I was like, this is fucking great, you know what I mean? And then all the other teachers would see it, and afterwards they'd be like, you know, you've got talent, there's something in this shit, and we think you should focus on it, which I wasn't hearing that anywhere else.
That's amazing. So what is your relationship like with Forest Gate now?
Well, my family still live there. Forest Gate's changing, it's starting to become a little bit more gentrified now because of the Crossrail. Most of my school friends have all moved out because they can't afford to live there. Same with Leytonstone. You know, because I went to school in Tom Hood, which was in Leytonstone, just next door. It's changed. Everybody's kind of moving out further to kind of Dagenham and Rainham and stuff like that now. That's not to say there isn't like this new birth of East London. I'm not going to criticise what East London is now in them areas, because I know that there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of Polish community there now, and you know, one thing that East London's always been is it's been the place where if you're coming from somewhere else in the world and you settle in London, East London is predominantly where you know you would migrate to. So I'm not going to diss East London. I just say that it's different, it's changed. And what worries me is about how much of the new inhabitants there are of from a different country or that are middle class white. That's what worries me. And only in the sense that if you look at Paris, all the rich white people live in the centre and all the poor, everybody else lives on the outskirts, in the ghettos, and that's what I can see happening to London now, and that bothers me. It bothers me because what makes London great is that it's poor living side by side by rich, black living side by side by white. If we push out all the poor people, we will end up pushing out all the culture as well.
So obviously it was very multicultural where you grew up in Forest Gate. Was anyone you know affected by the Windrush scandal, or what do you think about that situation?
It blows my mind. It blows my mind that would happen, but it doesn't surprise me.
Right, yeah.
Because, see, we're getting into politics here now. Turning me into a politician. All I'd say is, that there's certain people that if they don't grow up with a multicultural view on society, if they just have one mono view of society, then they're not going to be sensitive to certain things.
Yeah.
So they're going to make certain decisions without even thinking about it, because they're just not aware. They have no awareness. And that, when I look at the Conservative Party and most of the people that kind of vote that way, that's what I see. I don't see a bunch of racist people that want harm to come to black and Asian or poor people. I just see a bunch of people that have just lived a privileged life and have no idea what it feels like, and therefore those kind of things and how those people feel and the rights that those people should have don't even come into play for them.
Yeah.
And so that is indicative,
yes, that's it, yeah,
of her and them. That's my, trying to not get involved in
okay, let's talk about music and films.
Response.
Can we? You've talked a little bit about how you have plans maybe to make more films.
Ill Manners fucking... Something died inside of me when I made Ill Manners.
Why? Because it was hard to do?
That was the most difficult fucking thing I ever did. I mean, everything I do is really difficult. Like, this album was fucking difficult, you know what I mean? But that film was just like, just something died inside of me. I'm like, it'll come back. It's still not come back. It's like this little bit of fire, like, I can change the world and I'm gonna be the next fucking Quentin Tarantino or whoever the fuck. Like, it just something died, you know what I mean? I'm proud of the film. I'm super experienced now. If I go on a film set, I feel like I'm supposed to be there. I know what I'm doing. It's just that at that time I was doing so many different things, like I couldn't focus on it, I had like a massive film role coming up at the time I needed to prepare for. I had Strickland Banks and that was popping off all over Europe, and I was literally having to jump on like fucking Learjets to get to Germany, do a TV show, get back on the Learjet back. And I don't know if you've ever seen a Learjet, but it's like a camper van, but it's a plane, and it's scary as fuck, man. It's like the windows are rattling like that and shit. It's like...
I've been on a Ryanair flight, maybe it's...
it was kind of cool, but it was also kind of fucked up, because, I was flying to these places and I'd have someone from, like, the film crew there, like, doing some shit, asking me questions, and then someone else is asking me questions about music and then film, and it was just like too much. Then when I went on the film set, it was like, who's this pop star trying to make a film? Half the crew, Kate was there, she's there. That's how I met Kate, actually. Half the people was like bang on my side and understood that I was an inexperienced filmmaker and would do anything for me. And the other half was just like, who's this cunt? You know what I mean? And it's like...
What do you care? What do you care what they think?
The thing is, like, that's your family. While you're doing it, you're like, you know, apart from sleeping in the same bed, you're living, breathing, everything together. You know what I mean? And it's like being on a sinking ship. And it's like when you're on a sinking ship with motherfuckers that want to throw you overboard, you know what I mean? That's a hard thing to deal with. And film is politics the same as anything. You know, everyone there, like, no one was getting paid. Everyone was there to make a name for themselves. It was fucking difficult, you know. Half the people wanted to work for me, half of the people wanted to work for the production company and make their name, you know. So you'd like hear people chat shit. And, you know, it was the first time in my life where I was like, I've got all these young actors, non-actors, people I just met on the street and said, you look great, do you want to be in my film? All these people kind of relying on me to bring this film through. I cannot switch. When I hear someone chatting shit, I cannot switch.
Right, okay, yeah.
I got to ignore it. I got to fucking swallow it. And I'd swallowed a lot of shit to make that film. I made that film with my hands tied behind my back. I had fuck all money, fuck all experience. I still managed to make it what it is. It's not a masterpiece, 15 minutes too long. It was a TV series first, you know.
15 minutes too long.
Yeah, it was a TV series.
Right,
and
okay.
then I made it into a film, which is why it's like so much shit going on.
Well, didn't you shoot in like 18 days?
The initial shoot was 18 days,
crazy.
and then I sold the distribution. So we shot it for 100 grand, and then off the back of 25 minutes worth of footage, I managed to sell the distribution for £500,000. And that gave me the money to finish the film.
Right, okay, yeah.
So then I spent the next year, that period where I'd, you know, done 4 months of Ballad of Belmarsh and decided to fuck that off. I spent the rest of the year going and doing little pick-up shoots to kind of fix bits of the story. Anyway, like, it is what it is. I got it across the line, but it took a lot out of me, man. And so that's why at 2012, I was just like, I'm fucking taking a break and I'm not doing nothing.
So this album is not, you know, there's no accompanying film, but it's very visual. Like, you got a new look and like it's sort
Do you know
of
what?
a little bit futuristic.
There is an accompanying narrative to it. This is the thing that I'm trying to get my head around. You know, like the way music's being sold now. A song goes on radio and it's instantly there available for people to buy. You know, it suddenly puts this mad rush on like getting a promo out. And with this album, there's been this whole kind of filmic kind of concept that I haven't had the opportunity to delve into yet. Like we have a video that's been shot. And hopefully by the time he said when this is out, it will be out, and it will be the first instalment of that that concept. But it's me world building again, just like I did with Strickland Banks and All Manners.
So what kind of story are you telling this time around?
It's science fiction.
Okay, explains the Blade Runner.
Yeah, you know what? It's too complicated for us to go into it now, right? I'm just gonna confuse everybody if I talk about it. It's better if I just let the videos come out and I let them do the talking. But yeah, it was me inhabiting a character and kind of reinventing myself for this album once again.
Cool. Well, watch this space. I've been John Bassett. He's been Plan B. You've been watching NME.